You check your phone. Nothing. No messages. No missed calls. Not one person checking if you're okay. You scroll through hundreds of contacts, and somehow not a single name feels safe enough to call right now. And then the thought creeps in, the one you've spent years trying to bury. Is something wrong with me? Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Your isolation isn't a diagnosis. It isn't proof that you're defective, unlovable, or destined to fade out alone. It might be the exact opposite. It might be the sharpest, most useful piece of intelligence you've ever received about who you really are, and who the world was never going to let you become if you stayed surrounded by noise. Keep watching. By the end of this, you won't just tolerate your solitude, you'll weaponize it. This is Machiavellian Mindset, the channel that strips away the comforting lies and hands you the cold, calculating clarity of a man who watched empires crumble. Princes betray their own blood and friends sell out their allies the moment it served them. Niccolo Machiavelli didn't write to make you feel good. He wrote to make you dangerous, dangerously self-aware, dangerously unshakable, dangerously hard to manipulate. So let's begin with what Machiavelli understood 5 centuries before therapists coined a term for it. Loneliness is not weakness. It's information. The myth of the crowd. You're not imagining the epidemic. People today have more contacts than any generation in history and feel more abandoned than ever. Full group chats. Empty stomachs at 2 a.m. We perform closeness in photos and feel nothing real underneath the filter. Machiavelli, observing the courts of Florence, saw this exact illusion play out among princes surrounded by advisors, flatterers, and so-called allies. He warned that a ruler encircled by people is often more isolated than a man alone in a tower, because a crowd of flatterers will tell you what you want to hear, never what you need to know. The number of people around you was never proof of anything. Machiavelli knew it. The prince who mistook popularity for loyalty rarely kept his throne for long. Why it hurts so much? Ask yourself the real question underneath the shame. Why does an empty calendar feel like a life sentence? Because we've been sold a myth that your worth is measured in headcount. That being wanted equals being valuable. That silence on your phone means failure as a human being. Machiavelli would call this exactly what it is: a miscalculation. A prince who bases his power on the fickle affection of the crowd has built his fortress on sand. If you've ever sat in a packed room and felt more alone than in an empty one, drop it in the comments. You are not the only one who's lived that. Nobody owes you loyalty. Machiavelli rose from nothing. Exiled, imprisoned, tortured, stripped of his position by the very city he had served, and still he became the mind that rulers across Europe secretly studied for centuries. He had one brutal, liberating teaching that applies directly to your situation. You cannot force loyalty. You cannot manufacture affection out of people who were never going to choose you in the first place. So when you scroll through photos of gatherings you weren't invited to, understand what you're actually doing. You're grieving something that was never yours to control. Machiavelli wouldn't call this cruelty. He'd call it strategy. The moment you stop chasing approval from people who were never loyal to begin with, you reclaim every ounce of energy you were burning trying to be liked by an audience that was never watching your back. He knew something modern psychology only recently caught up to. It's not what happens to you. It's how you position yourself in response that determines whether you survive it or are destroyed by it. Circumstance took your circle away through distance, through drifting, through choices made by others. But how you interpret that fact is entirely under your command. You can read it as proof you're unworthy. Or, like Machiavelli, you can read it as intelligence, a signal that it's time to build power quietly, before anyone is watching. Solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. Machiavelli wrote his most dangerous, most enduring work, The Prince, not from a palace, but from exile. Cut off from power, from politics, from the rooms where decisions were made. Stripped of an audience, he didn't collapse. He calculated. He understood something almost nobody admits. Around other people, you edit yourself constantly. You soften your real opinions. You laugh at things that aren't funny. You perform a version of yourself built for approval, not truth. Alone, that performance ends. And what's left is the only version of you that actually matters strategically, the real one. Machiavelli believed most people fear solitude precisely because of what it exposes. Without an audience, you're left facing your own thinking, unfiltered. For many, that confrontation is more frightening than any rejection a crowd could hand out. This is the quiet irony of the friendless years. They're often exactly the years someone needed to forge themselves long before they had the right people around to witness the transformation. Trace back almost any story of someone who built real power in business, in art, in influence, and you'll find a stretch that looked, from the outside, like failure. No applause, no circle, no witnesses. What looked like absence was actually construction. The mathematics of real loyalty here is a number that should unsettle you more than comfort you. The human mind can only sustain a small number of genuinely close bonds, not dozens, not hundreds, which means that person you envy, with a packed calendar and 300 contacts statistically, almost none of them would show up if his empire actually collapsed at 3 a.m. Most of them are strangers wearing the costume of loyalty. Machiavelli understood this before anyone measured it. He warned princes constantly about the corrupting danger of the wrong company, not because company itself was dangerous, but because the wrong alliances quietly reshape you into someone weaker than you started. So flip the framing. If you have few people, but the ones you keep are honest, useful, and unafraid to tell you an inconvenient truth, you are not poor. By Machiavelli's own math, you're fortified. And if you currently have no one close, that's not a verdict on your character. At most, it's a temporary shortage. It says nothing permanent about your value or your future position. Tell me honestly in the comments how many people in your life would actually tell you the truth, even if it cost them something. Vert, the trait Machiavelli valued above being liked. Machiavelli had a word he returned to again and again. Vert. Not virtue in the soft moral sense, but strength, skill, the capacity to shape your own fate instead of waiting for fortune to hand you one. He believed most people confuse being liked with being capable. They spend their energy managing perception instead of building actual strength. They'd rather be popular than powerful, agreeable than effective. But Vert doesn't care how many people show up to your birthday. It cares whether you can think clearly under pressure, whether you can act decisively when it matters, whether you can stand on your own judgment when no one is applauding it. A prince with Vert and no allies was, in Machiavelli's eyes, still dangerous. A prince with 100 allies and no Vert was already finished, he just hadn't realized it yet. This is the quiet advantage of your current isolation. Every hour you spent building skill, discipline, and self-command instead of chasing an audience is an hour spent accumulating Vert. And Vert, unlike popularity compounds, it doesn't evaporate the moment the room empties out. So the question isn't, why doesn't anyone show up for me? The sharper, more useful question is, what am I becoming while no one's watching? Don't romanticize the retreat. Let's not dress this up too prettily. Sometimes isolation isn't strategic distance. Sometimes it's fear wearing a disguise. Maybe you withdraw before anyone gets the chance to reject you first. Maybe you've convinced yourself people always betray you eventually, so you strike first by leaving. Maybe you've set standards so impossible that no one could ever meet them and called it discernment instead of self-sabotage. Machiavelli never respected self-deception. His entire method demanded ruthless, unflinching self-examination before judging anyone else. He assumed people would disappoint him not as an excuse to avoid them, but as preparation. He trained himself to remain composed and calculating no matter how others behaved. His focus was never on fixing people. It was on becoming someone impossible to destabilize. So ask the uncomfortable question. If you actually want real connection and it never seems to materialize, is it possible fear, not fate, has been quietly running your strategy? Fear of reaching out first. Fear of looking too eager. Fear that vulnerability gets met with the same silence you've faced before. These fears rarely show themselves honestly. They disguise themselves as independence. They whisper that you're simply protecting your position. But beneath that armor is often someone who wants to be understood and has forgotten how to risk exposure. Machiavelli would remind you, you cannot control whether someone answers your message. You cannot control whether an invitation gets accepted. But you absolutely control whether you choose the calculated risk over permanent retreat. The fortress within Machiavelli's deepest lesson wasn't really about politics. It was about power, the kind no one can strip from you. He believed a prince's outer fortress could always fall to siege, betrayal, or time. But an inner fortress, built through discipline and self-mastery, could not be taken by anyone. That fortress isn't built in a single day. It's built stone by stone, every disappointment absorbed without collapse, every betrayal turned into strategy instead of bitterness. Your quiet season, uncomfortable as it feels, is exactly that construction time. Time to become someone before the world hands you people to lean on. Most people never get this chance. They drift from one source of validation to the next: family, then friend groups, then relationships, then careers, never spending enough uninterrupted time alone to actually know their own mind. Their confidence is borrowed. Their identity is rented from whoever's watching. Then, inevitably, life shifts. A relationship ends. People drift. Circumstances change. And those who never built anything internally discover, too late, they don't know how to stand without an audience. You are building that foundation now, earlier than most, and it's uncomfortable precisely because it's real work. Every evening you sit with the discomfort. Instead of numbing it, is another stone placed in the fortress that no future betrayal can easily breach. Self-sufficiency was never about isolation. Machiavelli never argued for permanent solitude. He wasn't anti-alliance, he was anti-illusion. He believed a wise leader enjoys alliances without becoming dependent on them, welcomes connection without handing over his sense of worth to whoever happens to show up. There's a massive difference between wanting connection and needing it to feel whole. Wanting it is human. Needing it to validate your existence is a quiet form of surrender, handing your worth to people who may or may not choose to carry it. So here's the reframe. Your lack of a circle right now doesn't mean you're unlovable or forgotten. It might simply mean you've been placed, deliberately or not, on the most direct path towards self-command, the one asset that can never be seized. Inherited or borrowed, only built. Money can vanish. Status can collapse. Even empires fall. Machiavelli watched it happen in real time. But a mind that has learned to command itself remains standing wherever life sends it. Return. Don't retreat forever. None of this is an argument for permanent withdrawal. Machiavelli never believed a prince gains strength by cutting himself off from every alliance. Isolation, in his framework, was never the destination. It was preparation before returning to the game with sharper judgment. The goal was never to need no one. The goal was to become so internally fortified that when real alliances arrive, They're additions to your power, not replacements for a missing sense of self. People who chase connection to escape themselves often become trapped by it. They tolerate disloyalty because solitude terrifies them more than betrayal does. They silence their real opinions to avoid being left. But someone who has learned to command their own company enters every relationship differently. They choose. They don't cling. In ordinary terms, that look simple, though never easy. You control your own honesty, even when performing a friendlier version of yourself feels safer. You control whether you make the first move, knowing full well it might not be returned. You control how you treat the few people who prove, over time, that they're actually loyal, not the ones who simply occupy space. And most importantly, you control the narrative running in your own head during the quiet hours, when no notifications arrive and the silence gets loud enough to start talking. Be careful there. Loneliness invents convincing stories. It tells you that everyone belongs somewhere except you. Machiavelli would tell you not to trust every thought simply because it shows up uninvited. Interrogate it. Most of it is fear, dressed up as certainty. Build the fortress first, so here's the closing calculation. Lacking a circle right now doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean your story matters less than everyone else's highlight reel. It means you've been handed something rare, whether you asked for it or not. Time alone with your own mind. No audience shaping your every move. Machiavelli built his most dangerous ideas while stripped of power, exiled from the rooms he once commanded. He didn't get there by accident. He got there by doing exactly what you're doing right now, sitting with the discomfort, questioning the easy excuses and refusing to believe that quiet years are wasted years. Whether you're in a crowded room that still feels empty, or in true silence with no one to call tonight, the same path is open to you. Build the fortress. Then decide deliberately and without apology exactly who earns a place inside it. If this shifted how you see your own solitude, even slightly, that's exactly why this channel exists. Not to make you feel comfortable, but to make you think clearly the way Machiavelli did when the whole world had already written him off. If this video gave you something worth keeping, do two things before you go. Hit like, so this reaches the next person sitting in silence tonight, convinced something is wrong with them. And subscribe, because this channel exists for exactly this, the calculated, unfiltered thinking on power, psychology, and self-command that nobody else is willing to say plainly. New breakdowns of Machiavelli's mind drop regularly, and if tonight's video meant something to you, the next one will hit even harder. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what's one thing you're building in this quiet season that your future self will thank you for? I read every comment, and I want to know I'm not the only one turning silence into strategy. Until next time, stay sharp, stay unreadable, and remember, fortune favors the prepared.